The country's poverty rate is now at the lowest level since official records began. That's according to the Planning Institute of Jamaica, the PIOJ. The PIOJ says poverty in Jamaica was cut by more than half in 2023 when compared to 2021. The PIOJ Director General, Dr. Wayne Henry, says the rate of poverty in Jamaica for 2023 was 8.2%. That's the lowest recorded rate since the country started keeping records in 1989. Dana Davey has the story.
Poverty rose steeply in 2021 as a result of the impact of the devastating COVID-19 pandemic. However, Dr. Wayne Henry says that trend has now been substantially reversed, with poverty sharply declining in 2023.
Jamaica's national poverty rate declined from 16.7% in 2021 to 8.2% in 2023, the lowest figure ever recorded since poverty rates were first measured in 1989. The estimate for 2024 will be provided later this year once the JSLC data is received from Statin.
No data exists for 2022 as no survey was conducted at that time. The PIOJ Director General says poverty dropped across the country, but the rate of reduction was variable in the corporate area.
The results reflect progress across all regions of the country. In the Greater Kingston metropolitan area, poverty fell from 10.4% in 2021 to 3% in 2023. In other urban centers, OUC, the rate declined to 9% from 15.5% in 2021. In rural areas, which historically experienced the highest rates of poverty, the rate dropped from 22.1% to 11.5%.
According to Dr. Henry, extreme poverty, also known as food poverty, is also on the decline.
In the Jamaican context, food poverty refers to the inability of a household to afford the minimum daily caloric intake required for good health. In 2023, the food poverty rate fell to 2.8%, down from 5.8% in 2021 and 4% in 2019, marking the lowest level on record.
Dr. Henry says this was driven by historic improvements in the rates of employment, general economic growth, and government initiatives such as increases in the national minimum wage and stronger social protection programs. Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
And Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is welcoming the latest information of a significant reduction in poverty. Dr. Holness says this validates the economic strategies of his administration.
We welcome Statin's and the PIOJ's finding that incidence of poverty has been cut in half to 8.2%, the lowest poverty reported since measurement began in 1989. This validates our economic program, which was never built on trickle-down theories, reckless spending, or fantasy promises. Instead, we focused on practical and instrumental efforts to improve the lives of every Jamaican by empowering households with jobs and income, improving the capacity of the labor force with free access to training, increased and targeted social interventions, and strengthening of the social safety net, and increasing agricultural output.
However, Mr. Holness says his administration remains focused on further improving the lives of the Jamaican people.
While we celebrate this historic achievement, we recognize that there is more work to be done. Our mission is to ensure that every Jamaican, especially our most vulnerable, has access to opportunities and pathways to prosperity. We can end absolute poverty in Jamaica.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
And the Jamaican economy has begun recovering from the weather-related shocks suffered in 2024. According to the latest estimates from the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, gross domestic product, GDP, grew by 0.8% for the first quarter of 2025 compared to a similar period for 2024. This puts an end to recession fears after 2 quarters of decline. According to PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry, the economy is also set to continue growing throughout 2025. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The last 2 quarters of 2024 brought about 2 consecutive economic contractions, meeting the technical definition of a recession. However, at the time, PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry disputed the claim that the country was in a recession, urging Jamaicans to await further results. Those results are now in. And according to Dr. Henry, the Jamaican economy has entered recovery mode. He says the country recorded marginal growth of 0.8% for January to March this year, compared to a similar period in 2024.
Today, we are reporting that real value added for the Jamaican economy grew by an estimated 0.8% in the January to March 2025 quarter, compared with the corresponding quarter of 2024. The performance for the January to March 2025 quarter largely reflected the impact of 1. Continued growth momentum in some industries following the adverse effects of the hydrological events of 2024. 2. Increased external demand, which was facilitated by continued growth in the economies of Jamaica's main trading partners. And 3. Increased employment and higher levels of consumer confidence, which drove domestic demand.
Both the goods producing and services industries recorded improvements of 1% and 0.7% respectively. On the goods producing side, all sectors improved, with manufacturing and construction leading the way. Manufacturing topped out at 1.5% growth, while construction recorded 1.4% improvement. With the exception of retail, renting, and business activities, all areas for the services industries grew. Transport, storage, finance, and insurance and other services all recorded 1% improvements. Meanwhile, Dr. Henry says the country's short to medium-term prospects for growth also look positive. He's projecting growth in the April to June quarter.
For April to June 2025, growth prospects for the Jamaican economy are generally positive. This is based on the expectation for continued recovery from the adverse effects of the various hydrological events which impacted the island during the latter half of 2024. It is projected that the economy will grow within the range of 0.5% to 1.5% relative to April to June 2024.
Similarly, the PIOJ boss expects gross domestic product (GDP) growth for both the calendar year and the fiscal year.
The projection for fiscal year 2025-26 is for growth within the range of 1% to 2%. All industries are forecast to record growth, as recovery from the weather-related shocks in 2024 will become more pronounced in the latter half of calendar year 2025. The main upside potential to growth include continued strengthening of most industries due to the dissipation of the adverse effects of the various hydrological events which impacted the island during the latter half of 2024. The downside risks to these projections include unplanned factory downtime associated with aged production plants, particularly in the mining and quarrying and manufacturing industries.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.